Okay, I think we can sit down? Okay, so we'll start the last session, and want to thank everyone for coming and having a great workshop, and reiterating, we really hope this goes on and we have more of these. So what we're going to do is we're just going to sort of give a high-level overview of what action items came out of the different three different sessions: the model, the observations, and we've already heard from the DA. And I think we're going to send them the notes to the afterwards. Is that right? Okay. We'll try and send to the notes. So if we could scroll down, this is just sort of notes that we would send from the model side. Scroll down to the action items. Okay. So so some of the action items we came up with here is to take a survey of the models to integrate with JEDI. For each model, useful to know the component, the grids, the couplings to other models, the variable naming conventions, and the priority for JEDI integration. Sort of collect that from the community information. We'll set up a model working group. I think right now, sort of just the three that are based upon the models. We'll just go with the WACMX, NEMO, and WAM IPE, and we'll have representatives from those groups, so that we can sort of have to make the decisions. And I also want to say that, we're doing the initial setup of JEDI, and of course we're going to make mistakes, and there's always ways to change in the future. But the more general we can make it at the beginning, the better off I think all of us are going to be, and also to make it easier for people to integrate their models as quick as possible. That involves model GeoVal naming convention as well. Then the JCSDA to investigate extending the generic code to geomagnetic grids. How can we do that? There's a lot of talk that we've done, and more work will be done in the future on that. And then more training resources needed for space weather JEDI practitioners, academies, tutorials, more documentation on core classes and methods. I know that we had a student at Texas A&M came out and tried to get up to speed last summer, and had some issues with getting on that. But I think it's setting this up for the space weather community specifically, and so that we can have not only the focus on the operational and getting that out, but helping the operational as what we're going to do in 5 years. We're working on that, but as well as getting the grad students being able to start looking at the program, and getting familiar with it is good for all of us, I think, and moving forward. So that's what we were looking at for action items. Do we want to take questions or comments on the action items? Sure. And yeah.
And then also, I want to make sure Francois and Mark Mish, if there's any additional comments from you. Okay. Any comments for this model side for us to take on in the following months, or whether we have missed any important information from the discussion?
Hi, Noah Peterson with Sword. Just as someone who is currently trying to learn JEDI, I just want to second the more training resources action item. So that I think will be very helpful for those of us who are getting into this.
That's great. Thank you. Should we move on to next section. So can you scroll, go ahead.
Okay, so for observations, I copy over some slides, some points from the discussion session, but I summarized the action items. Please scroll down to the almost the end of the document. Is that?
Sure, I can do it.
Yeah, okay.
Can you do it?
It's the laptop over the left. Thank you. That's what happened when you're using the lunchtime for the discussion. Okay, thank you. So it's great summary that we found, to define the different observation types. And I feel that there is need for us to really have a clear idea what we are transitioning to UFO. Oh, I actually need some help from you again. I need to click that link.
Click the link.
Thank you. So I will give you an example what I did for the UFO neutral atmosphere. So if you go to the tab tracking, the third one from left, and yeah. Oh, okay. So maybe this is the master list, please. Second one. Sorry. I didn't know I don't have the cursor. Okay. So when we start UFO transition, and I actually talked with all the stakeholders we were working with, and list out all the sensors, satellites, and identify which are operational or real time, which are climatology type of studies, reanalysis, for example, which are demissioned. So I used the color code to indicate the priority for our transition. And I feel, of course, this is from AOP 2020, a few years ago when we built UFO for neutral atmosphere. And now we are at a stage that we are pretty much done with at least the common requirement from partners. And for any specific observations or different configurations, we have to do more, detailed work with specific in-kinds. But on the other hand, I feel that helped me a lot to have such a summary. What's available, what's the data resources, and what's the stage right now for research or for operations. And operators existed, or it's still upon the research. I feel that if we can have a working group to build such a chart, that will be very helpful for us to build a UFO for space weather. At least from what I've heard is operational data set have the highest priority, which is understandable. They are available in real time, and we'll start from there. But on the other hand, as Yannick mentioned, we also need to watch out what's available in the research mode, and to see whether we can watch for that, or at least having some data assessment tool using JEDI. So that will need some JEDI UFO development as well. So that's the purpose of having such a survey, or I would say UFO transition for space weather, such a chart for that. So I did for neutral atmosphere. I hope you will agree that we can build such thing for space weather as well. Can we go back to the Google Doc? Thank you so much. Okay, so another item I would like to have such a working group to work on is UDA naming convention and UDA metadata. As I mentioned, that we converted all the data files into UDA format and build a database. It can be shared among in-kinds, so we can use the same database. On the other hand, we would like to have more or less common naming convention, so we can exchange data easily. We can compare, verify performance straightforward using the same database. And I understand that there is a lot of divergence on the metadata for different data resources or data types as well. So that's something we would need to figure out what we would like to include in our YODA data files or in our database. Again, I don't think we will have answers from just 1.5 day workshop. But I would like to have a working group working closely to work on this. And also, we originally proposed maybe we can have model-based working group. I just got a comment from Sway saying that, there is also, we need to consider that also there's some agencies, they may have some input rather than running a model yet, but they have some input. So anyway, we can discuss that. But we can start with the models existing, at least with the DA capabilities, and we can, merging some other members working into this working group. So I think after this workshop, I'll work with our chairs, at least coming with some initial proposal, and then we can pass along to see that how we can have finalized the membership for the working group. Again, please always communicate us different, whenever you think that there's something necessary. I think we are quite open. All right, so that's for the observation, but I think this working group will be observation and DA working group together.
Was there, I think there was a discussion earlier, maybe even before the workshop, about having observation operators be potential working group or distributed effort. Some people focusing on one type of observation, developing the operator in JEDI. Is that covered under this already, or is it a separate action item perhaps?
Yeah, I think the observation operator and the individual, so the working group is just sort of to keep an eye on, where we want to go, and then they will have to reach out to the people, like the ones that have those particular observations and the people that are creating the observation operators. So it's sort of like, I think it's just sort of like a group that sort of looks over the whole problem, sort of keeps their eye on it, but then reaches out into the community to get the people necessary in order to put those things together. That's what I was thinking. I don't know.
So for the developer part, I should add it, but it's by default, we will have a developer meeting, coordinate on operator development. And that's quite a regular setup. So, but I should mention that because we have people working on the, extending neutral atmosphere higher, right? Goes to my, the neutral density assimilation stuff, and we have people working on ionospheric data simulation, and the different type of observations. So we definitely would like to, whoever working on the JEDI code at this point, come to our developer meetings. And we have general JEDI developer meeting, and we can also have a space weather DA group meeting. So yes, I will add that.
Could you talk a little bit for the people that are not in JEDI about how the development actually works within the GitHub and everything? I guess sort of a high level is that they have a GitHub repository, and please, JEDI people, correct me when I'm wrong on this. They have you have to get access to get into the code repository, And then you get granted of, you're a type of person that can make changes to that part of the code. And then you go in and you work on that particular part of the code. And then you have reviewers that look at it and you have comments. I think for all those that are familiar with like how GitHub works, that's basically how they do it. And then they have these meetings, these weekly meetings where they're like, okay, we need to keep working in this particular area or that particular area. Anyone else want to expand?
We are recording, so yeah.
Yes, I was just going to say, I don't think access is necessary, that you can take the public repositories and any changes you want to make, you can do a fork at your institution and then do a pull request back to JCSDA when you're ready.
Okay, so for the
Just one more clarification here in thinking in what we can do here at CU, for instance, in the SWORD group, we have the gold instrument data, for instance, and instrument team here. So I would be looking for us to potentially be working with gold data in some capacity, developing the observation operator, whatever, and how we initiate that effort, who we talk to, how we hook into all of this is still not quite clear to me, but hopefully will be.
So that's where GitHub comes from. That we actually doing the PR review. So whenever anything come into the JEDI repository, for example, you have the Go data operators, and we will look at the generic interface, for example, to making sure that it's complying with our generic design. At the beginning, maybe it's not straightforward, but we will train the developers through the process. But again, I think the access of using the GitHub for code management and also having the interactive communications throughout the development is important. We don't want to have the changes suddenly appear after a few months of development. We would like to have much more frequent update in terms of days, shorter than 1 week. We can always have the merging come into development.
Yeah, that was the point I was going to make, that to clarify my previous comment, you can work with forks, but then communication is crucial to coordinate who's doing what.
And also coming back to the repository, and for people who are directly working on the code, making the changes, we would recommend people using our develop, which is changing every day, because there are different pieces and not necessarily touching what you are working on, because mostly they are neutral atmosphere. But on the other hand, we hope people get the internal access. That's our so-called in-kind Jupyter Center internal. But for people who are not doing that much interactive development, we are talking about the possibility to put a PyRI JEDI into the public domain, Jupyter Center public repository. And I already talked with our management, and we don't see any obvious bottleneck for putting that out. But again, just making sure the license issue, anything we miss from this point. But anyway, that will be for people to access the code through that route. Again, for any active development, let's sit down and Tom, I will talk with you this afternoon about that as well. Yeah. So any other comments, questions?
There was a suggestion raised yesterday during during the model interface discussion about doing a sort of survey of grids. Are we is that going to be sent out to the whole community, or how is that going to work?
Francois, you want to comment first?
I don't know yet. But it would be probably worthwhile to send it out at least to this community once we've gathered that information.
Cool, thank you.
I don't know if, that was a vague answer, but if you want to ask something more specific, I can give it a go.
Well, I thought we
Um,
brought it. I think if we stick to the three models, John. So right now, we're really looking at Wacom-X, at the WAM IPE and the PyRI SAMI. So focus on those. And then if you specifically want to reach out outside of that, feel free. But I think from the Jedi point of view, those are the three we're really targeting. If we keep it on that, and I think you have a good gauge on what may be needed and it's coming. But I would say those are the three to focus on right now. Over.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think
thank
what
you.
John's kind of talking about is that he's also getting into the magnetic grids and the sun synchronous grids, and so I think so what we're talking about action items, we're talking about the next few months and sort of starting out, and of course all of these things will be expanded beyond that as we go into the future. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
I think you need to consider also adding PyRI in a regular grid, because I think lots of users will benefit from it, the ones who do not necessarily want to go to magnetic coordinates. Very
Right.
easy add.
Right. That we'll discuss that. Yeah.
Any other comment from online or from people in the room? And as mentioned that, the action items are more near term. It doesn't define that, for the next 5 years. But my point is that if we have near term or short term action items, that will push us to go longer. And we definitely need to come back regularly to look at what we have done for those action items and add new action items in the following. So at least that's my work plan for this project.
I suspect you're going to say the same thing I'm about to say.
So I have some general comments about these action items. I think they're spot on. I think there's, a conversion from a myriad of efforts that are nascent, ongoing, and a lot of interest into developing a community and basically a coordinated plan. And so these action items are really laying the groundwork, the foundations for doing this by collecting first all the information so that we can have a coordinated approach, plan together. That's one thing. By actually making sure we speak the same language. So these naming conventions for observations for the models are going to be key because, they're going to facilitate that coordination down the line a lot. Remove misunderstanding, remove friction across the teams. So this is really important. And I think also what we can do out of this as well is, and that relates to some of the previous action items on the other page, was we can start doing prototyping, and with very limited ambition initially. Maybe we grab one observation type, maybe we grab one model, maybe the only thing we do is compute observation minus simulated HLX. But that at least is a starting point. And we share that with everybody, we document it, we actually train, and everybody can build on it. We won't have all the features, but it will have a starting point that we can build upon. And maybe I'd like to make an appointment with everyone here to, to actually have an objective for these action items. So next May, June-ish, we're not exactly sure, but we're planning on having our annual science workshop, probably here in this same room. And I think it would be actually very valuable to have a dedicated session on, you know, JEDI Space Weather DA and bring the community there and use that as an opportunity to look at these prototypes, to actually have an initial training capability to bring additional folks there. So that could actually really nicely put sort of a short-term objective for these action items.
Yeah, I think that's really great. I think that's it's good time scale too. Come back together in, you know, what is that, 6 months, 7 months, and see where we're at. So yeah.
And I want to add for the prototype, I totally agree. And what we are doing right now with NRL, we started with the Inosound because that seems the simplest data type I have seen so far compared with the others. So, you know, I hope that at least we can share some, at least, you know, go through the pipeline we need to do with the UFO, for example, and going through the, you know, data simulation stuff. We can figure out what are needed, what are challenges. Starting from there, we can share with everybody our lessons learned and also learn from you what you already have, for example, you know, ops, uncertainty estimation, you know, all the components we can go through and find out the working areas we need to extend or include into JEDI. I think I totally agree. You know, if there's other recommendation, or at least if you have data sources for such a data type, let us know. I think we will be happy to proceed on this route.
Is it, I think this is the close of the workshop with that. So before we all go, I'd like to make sure we thank Wee for her tremendous efforts in putting this together and getting this organized. And also Leslie for making it all happen locally. Thank you very much, Leslie. The dinner reservations were great. Thank you. Yeah, and just to close on a note of this has really been great. This was originally, again, initiated by Tom and I just contacting each other and notifying him that, hey, NASA's putting in some significant funding into this new area for space weather. And it was really through the Sword Center initiation at CU that I reached out, and he said, you know, it was originally because you at one time said you were going to have a JEDI Academy or a workshop this summer. We were looking forward to just showing up and saying, hey, we're here. And then that got postponed. And so we started talking about, well, how can we maybe get together and do something in the space weather realm that supplants that or supplements that. And that led to all of this. So I think it's been a very successful 2 days, and really look forward to continuing it.
Yeah, Tom and myself, we did the easy part, which was just, you know, have the idea, but actually make it happen was actually a lot of work. So thanks, Hui, thanks, Leslie. That was actually, you know, a lot of work happening in the background. And thanks everyone for coming here. Yeah, so that initial workshop and training academy that we were planning is now postponed to next year, but actually that becomes a really nice milestone for that momentum to keep on ongoing.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time and your comments, inputs for this JEDI Space Weather Workshop. And we will definitely follow up from here. Thanks again for coming, and let's end this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.